Here's your host for this morning's edition of America's Fabric.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Lee Valite. I'm an independent physician in private practice in Tucson and Dallas, and the author of several health books for consumer, as well as the founder of a new international medical consulting company based in Santiago, Chile, to help patients have access to quality medical services and medical privacy at lower cost in a variety of countries. My medical websites are www.herplace.com and www.internationalhealthstrategiesltd.com. Today, I'd like to share with you my experiences living and working here in the United States and our recent expansion to South America. This is a tale of two countries, two extremes of vision, and two vastly different concepts of government and economic policy. These extremes have occurred in many places around the world where people of similar backgrounds and ethnicity and language are worlds apart in income and living standards only because of the success or failure of their governing policies and principles. Examples abound, from East and West Germany to North and South Korea, Cuba and the Bahamas, Venezuela and Panama. South America is becoming a similar case study, with the high peaks of the Andes forming a sort of golden chain separating two clear sides, Argentina and Chile. On the Chilean side, economic freedom flourishes, the economy is booming, millions in the middle class have rising incomes, unemployment is low, the value of the peso is rising, their standard of living is rising, the cities are clean, orderly, and well maintained, corruption is low, the rule of law is followed. People are friendly, happy, relaxed, outgoing, and welcoming. There is a level of civility, comfort, and safety walking the streets in cities, large and small. On the Argentine side of the Andes, however, it is the opposite story. Central planning and totalitarian control, with economic collapse and poverty for millions of formerly middle class now struggling to survive. Unemployment is high. Incomes are dropping. The Argentine president has a stranglehold over what's left of the Argentine economy. Inflation is rampant. Corruption is widespread. Freedom is waning. The streets are rutted and infrastructure poorly maintained. People appear tense. Panhandlers are everywhere on the streets, and there's an undercurrent of feeling on guard walking around beautiful Buenos Aires. Argentina's president has nationalized private foreign companies, taken over Argentine citizens' retirement accounts, driven out most of the independent media, and recently announced a ban on advertising just days after imposing a price freeze at grocery stores around the country and a ban on certain exports. The Argentine president's most insidious move has been to force Argentines to hold the rapidly depreciating Argentine peso. She has restricted her people from changing pesos into other currencies, including gold, as well as created obstacles to move funds abroad. Argentines are desperate to convert their pesos to other currencies before the value falls further. For example, while the official Argentine peso exchange rate was about 5 pesos for $1, Argentines on the black market were offering 7.8 pesos to $1 on March 6 when we arrived, and by March 21 when we left, it was more than 8.5 pesos to the dollar. Many Argentines have reached their breaking points and are lining up at the immigration offices in Chile, seeking residency there to escape Argentina's economic destruction. Price controls, media controls, nationalizing private assets. They are all part of the same tired playbook that morally bankrupt politicians in financially bankrupt countries have routinely fallen back on for centuries. This is an important lesson for us in the United States. The failing countries I just described are governed in ways that are the direct opposite of what our founders created for America and the successful approaches implemented in Chile to create such a stable country and vibrant economy. Yet today, the United States itself is rapidly implementing policies and controls similar to those in Argentina. The likely outcomes for us will be just as bad here as they are in Argentina, Venezuela, and other totalitarian regimes. These extremes we saw between Argentina and Chile show us that America, as we have known her, is not only a place, our country, but also an idea and an ideal based on a set of core principles that together have created the most prosperous nation on earth and the greatest improvement in standard of living for the most people in the history of the world. The ideas unique to America that have made us great are the ones I've talked about before: individual liberty, individual property rights, individual right to self-defense, the rule of law, the belief that our rights are endowed by our Creator, not the government, and the belief in the right to equal opportunity to pursue life and happiness. There was no guarantee of equal outcomes, just the opportunity to pursue life as we individually chose. But these ideals, operative and successful in our past and operative and successful in Chile in recent decades, and creating a booming economy in Chile now, are being undermined and destroyed by progressives here in the U.S. who believe in more and more government control of our lives, who believe in printing money with wanton abandon, who believe in raising taxes ad infinitum to pay for expanding entitlements, who believe in government control of medical care and medical privacy, who believe in redistribution of wealth from the producers to the takers, who believe that elites in power know more than we individuals know about how to live our lives. Two countries, Argentina and Chile, are lessons for us in the United States of America. Will we reclaim our founders' vision and principles and regain our economic strength and our growth as we see in Chile today? Or will we go the way of Argentina, a country with great natural resources and a people of strong determination and will, but now so badly governed that her people are leaving in droves, and those remaining struggle to survive? Yes, we face serious challenges and a difficult road ahead. But the world isn't coming to an end. It is changing. This change is as old as human civilization itself. Every few hundred years, wealth and power shifts. This has happened many times throughout history. Mesopotamia, Persia, Macedonia, Greece, the Roman Empire, Byzantium, the Mongolian Empire, the Ming Dynasty, the Ottoman Empire, the Habsburg Empire, the French Bourbon Monarchy, the British Empire, the Third Reich, and now the United States of America. Decades of ruinous and exponentially increasing debt have caught up to the West, and wealth and power are once again shifting to countries like Chile, Singapore, Mongolia, and others where economic freedom still flourishes. In the case of the U.S., the government doesn't even collect enough tax revenue to cover the cost of mandatory entitlement programs like Medicare and Social Security, plus paying interest on the debt. We already must borrow money just to pay interest on the money we've already borrowed. More specifically, the U.S. government is in the hole by nearly $250 billion before they actually start paying for what we call real government, the military, Homeland Security, national parks, the IRS, and other supposedly essential government functions. Yet the major topic today seems to be how to take people's guns and granting amnesty and welfare and health care for those in the country illegally. Today in the United States bears an uncanny resemblance to the legend of Nero fiddling while Rome burned. The political elite is dangerously out of touch. This time is not different in history, and assuming otherwise is really dangerous to your physical and financial health. Everything about our situation today screams unsustainable. The writing isn't just on the wall, it's flashing in bright neon lights. You'd have to be intentionally ignoring the warning signs to miss it. Amazingly, though, most people still ignore reality and pretend that everything is the same as always. Each superpower down through history were in the same position we are today, deeply in debt, debasing their currency, destroying freedom, and ignoring reality. People have always wanted to pretend that everything is just fine. But there is a tsunami about to hit us in 2014 with the coming increase in government control and spending to support expanded medical care entitlements, not to mention all the other debt and economic turbulence ahead. Our founders set up checks and balances to prevent an out-of-control government from usurping our liberty. But today, we see those checks and balances being thwarted at every turn by a media that refuses to carry out its watchdog role and by politicians who ignore the Constitution and ignore Supreme Court decisions they don't like. When we're faced with governments that have unlimited resources to lie, cheat, kill, enslave, defraud, and debase the currency, they can keep up the appearance that everything is fine for a long time, perhaps far past the point of no return. But when the final unraveling of our economy hits, it will happen very, very quickly. And history shows that we can only ignore the consequences for so long. We can only kick the can down the road for so long before the rate of decline accelerates and the consequences are tumultuous. In January 2011, the U.S. government spent 19.7% of tax revenue on debt interest alone. And yet, interest rates in the U.S. are almost zero. Imagine how quickly this will spiral out of control when interest rates start rising even just a little bit. Default, collapse, and social turmoil follow soon after in every example through history. History shows that when governments enter a period of terminal decline, they try to control everything: wages, prices, borders, money supply, foreign exchange, private property, and private retirement accounts, as well as access to health care. The political and banking elite have given us more war, inflation, and epic financial crises. They've turned Western civilization into a giant police state, and they've managed to brainwash the public into calling out for more security with more government control. These tactics never work and only hasten the decline, as we have seen from ancient Rome to Argentina's modern-day president, and as our own politicians are also discovering. These tactics are the opposite of the principles of self-reliance, self-accountability, and self-determination that made America great. There are solutions. I have personally been researching options for the last several years. Options for living, working, and obtaining medical care overseas where economic opportunity still exists, where freedom and rule of law still guide some governments, and where people are still free to decide their direction in life, free of constant and intrusive micromanagement by government bureaucrats whose only solutions are tax and spend our money. As the late Margaret Thatcher wisely said, quote, "The problem with socialism is that you soon run out of other people's money," end quote. From our travels and research, I've learned that awareness, wise planning, and global thinking can rebuild a base founded on our own American core principles and can restore stolen liberty. Quite simply, if you'd like to remain free, you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. The most prudent strategy is to invest your time, energy, and money into ideas that make sense to protect you no matter what happens in the years ahead. This is an important concept. There are a number of steps that you can take that make sense in a best case or worst case situation. Either way, some steps are just wise and prudent. If you open your mind to the world of opportunity beyond our own borders, some examples for self-preservation and retaining liberty come to mind. Holding savings in a foreign bank account, setting up a business or a trust in a stable offshore jurisdiction, owning property abroad in a safe place, using an overseas email or web hosting provider, investing in strong foreign economies, establishing an optional legal residency in another place that you might enjoy living if things get worse at home, seeking high-quality, low-cost medical care overseas before you may need it, finding out your options, arranging for international health insurance before you need it and find out you're too old to qualify for it. The destructive policies we see today of government overreach and control are easy to defeat. We simply have to be the resilient, proactive, and self-starting people that our ancestors were when they built America. We can move a portion of our savings abroad to a stable banking jurisdiction. We can look for lower cost, more accessible, and more privacy in medical care out of the U.S. We can scout out locations overseas to live in case we want a more stable or more free or more economically sound place to spend our lives. These steps make sense no matter what. It's hard to imagine that you'd be worse off for taking action now. And if it turns out to be a very dangerous road ahead, as many predict, such as the criminalization of owning gold, capital controls like Argentina, pension fund confiscation like Argentina, then taking these steps helped keep you well ahead of the crowd. I had my first epiphany as a physician in 1986 when insurance companies tried to dictate what I could and could not do for my patients. I refused to let insurance clerk tell me what I could do for my patients. I resigned. I have spent my career answering solely to my patients and advocating for their needs and having an allegiance only to the patients, not government and not insurance companies. The 2010 healthcare law has brought even more draconian intrusions into the physician-patient relationship, more disruption in our freedom to make medical decisions, and more destruction of medical privacy by requiring physicians to send medical records to the federal government for a government-controlled tracking system and database to be used to decide your treatment. As a result, I've had another epiphany. It's time to set up medical treatment options and medical privacy systems outside the United States. It is time to expand our medical work to Chile, a country that is becoming great because it is following the principles and policies that made America great, but policies we are rapidly losing. While I still plan to see my U.S. patients here, I also see the brightly flashing warning signs, patients having longer wait times, patients having fewer medical choices, patients experiencing higher cost, more out-of-pocket expenses, fewer options for medicines, drug shortages, cancer treatment being curtailed because of drug cost reductions by the federal government, and patients and doctors having less freedom to decide treatment. These are ominous signs, and your life is at stake. People need to be making plans, both financially and medically, to be looking beyond the limitations of our borders and beyond the prison of government control. I have been a master scuba diver for many years. One of the lessons from diving is to have backup systems with you in the event of equipment failure. You don't want to be at 90 feet underwater and your pressure gauge blows and you don't have something to back up to help you get back to safety. I want a backup system in place for any patients who are prisoners of their government-controlled healthcare system or who are prisoners of their third-party payment-controlled access to medical care. In either case, when others besides your physician decide what treatment you are allowed and how quickly you may have it, then your life is at stake. International Health Strategies was born to serve patients who want to maintain their medical freedom and privacy, and also for patients who want to preserve the freedom to pay cash for medical services that the government or third-party insurance companies may deny. People are rapidly losing the ability to even pay cash. Whether Medicare contracted doctors and hospitals are denied that to accept cash, or whether your insurance company has decided something's medically unnecessary and you can't pay cash. International Health Strategies was born with the same drive and desire that drove my ancestor to leave England in 1608 and seek liberty by coming to Jamestown Island in Virginia. The desire to maintain liberty and freedom and self-determination is woven into my very DNA. It is what has made the fabric of America strong. It must be preserved, even if it means moving to another place to carry out the idea and ideal of America. There are real solutions out there, and we can each choose our next course of action to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of individual happiness as our Creator intended. This is Dr. Valit, signing off for today. You may enjoy the articles and podcast on my website at www.herplace.com or www.internationalhealthstrategiesltd.com.
You've been listening to America's Fabric, a radio series on American history and culture, broadcast every Sunday over KVOI Tucson and its affiliates. Be sure to tune in again next Sunday morning at 8. Until then, never forget, it's the courage, knowledge, hard work, and respect for truth of Americans that keeps America free and prosperous. America's Fabric is listener supported. To make a contribution, send a check to America's Fabric, Post Office Box 17356, Tucson, Arizona, 85731. That's P.O. Box 17356, Tucson, 85731. All contributions are tax exempt, and every contributor will be mailed a Grateful to be an American bumper sticker. To get more information on America's Fabric or to listen to previous broadcasts, go to americasfabric.com. That's americasfabric.com.